Hey guys, this is Theta Trades, and today I wanted to talk about my NAT positions. And NAT has been a whirlwind, and they have an exciting week coming up. So the positions I currently have are 30 shares and a short $6 put that I am 100% getting assigned on tomorrow. But let's talk about next week because it's kind of exciting. If we look at next week for NAT, we have earnings on Monday, June oil contracts expiring Tuesday, some more tanker earnings being posted Thursday, and then the ex-div on Friday. So first, let's talk about Monday. That's when earnings are coming out, and kind of the only way to forecast what's going to be happening is looking at the other tankers who've already posted earnings so far for quarter one. First up is Scorpio Tankers, and this one surprises me a lot. So on May 6th right here, Scorpio posted earnings and beat expectations by 66%, and that has not helped them at all. You can see from when they posted earnings all the way till now, they're down about 26%. And if you just look to this low right here before a little bit of a rebound, this was 20%. Another tanker that posted earnings earlier this month was DHT. They did this on May 5th. You can see, so they post earnings here, drop pretty big. Scorpio posts earnings the next day, drop again, and they've been down 16% pretty much since then. They've held pretty decent, but again, this hasn't been super encouraging. And it just goes to show you that even if NAT goes out and crushes it next week, it might not be enough to drive up the stock price. You can also see here very clearly, this is DHT posting earnings and then Scorpio posting earnings. If we go back to just Scorpio, you can see the effects of DHT right here. So these tankers are really playing off each other pretty well, so that's why the TK is important later this week. But first, let's go into June oil contracts, and I think everyone knows what happened to the the May contracts, which expired in April. They went negative, and there's some thought that June could do that as well. And a lot of people have been trading NAT opposite of oil prices, so NAT has been slowly falling in value, as oil has been raising in value ever since this happened and we switched to trading June contracts. So as far as the likelihood this happens, it's kind of hard to say. With reopening, there should be a little bit more demand. I've been doing a little research on some more airlines. We talked about JetBlue a while ago, and we know they already hedge their oil. Theoretically, they should already have these contracts, but others like American Airlines don't hedge. So if they're trying to get oil, they might have to be in the market now, collecting some more oil contracts, and with more opening happening and some flights picking back up in demand, they might be in the market as well as others. So whether that's enough to actually offset the horrible demand in the market, I think is unlikely. There's also another important thing that margin requirements have been altered a little bit. So at $10 for oil prices, this will now trigger a lot of margin calls is kind of the expectation, because I guess there were some problems when this happened. So now there's going to be margin calls taking place at the $10 range. So if June dips, and right now June is trading in the low 20s, I think it's around 22 at the moment, but if June dips to 10, that's going to trigger some margin calls, which will obviously increase selling pressure. The last thing on my mind as I consider this is USO has rebalanced their portfolio. So instead of having all of their contracts in the next month, so basically all being in June and having to roll to July come Tuesday, now I think they're only holding 10 or 15% of these June contracts. So because of how huge USO is, that's going to be a lot less selling pressure happening all at once. So it is likely that there will be less selling demand happening on Tuesday than there was back in April, but that's not to say that oil is going to be in a good place. And I think if there's any hint of a freak out, if oil is dipping really more than 20%, the tankers are going to soar. But that brings us past Tuesday. Wednesday is really the only boring day of the week. Nothing's really happening. Thursday is when TK is going to post. We already kind of talked about. There can be a lot of just communal buying and selling with these tankers, so watch out for that. You could use NAT as an indicator of what TK might do later in the week, or use TK to kind of say whatever NAT does, TK will probably prompt a continuation. We saw this kind of continuation with the banking sector. Wells Fargo and Chase posted in April kind of caused a little bit of a drop, and then US Bank and others posted later in the week continued that drop, and overall the entire financial sector dropped 20% in the week. So again, this is just something to look out for as we're considering what happens next week. That brings us to Friday, which is the ex-dividend date for NAT. And this is probably going to be removing sellers from the market until June 5th when that dividend actually gets paid out. The dividend isn't huge this time. It's only 14 cents. So obviously if the stock's going up $1 or more, the dividend doesn't make that much of a difference. But if we continue to trade in the range we have, I would expect to see some sellers exiting the market. And it's just something to look out for. So if we actually go over here and look at Robinhood, you can kind of see where NAT is at right now, just below $5. And it's actually kind of interesting because they are right at this support level we talked about in my last NAT video. So TradingView hasn't quite updated to reflect the 496, but either way, this level here, just the entire 490s has been very important for NAT. We talked about it in the last video, and this is why next week is so important, because next week is probably going to say whether the breakout is going up, like here, or if it's going down and we're going to be trading below this level. So it's something to watch because it has been fairly reliable. I mean, you can see here we've just been trading along it, several bounces off of it, but earlier we saw interactions here. Earlier, end of May, early April, we saw it. And I think even farther back, there was a peak that obviously not quite as reliable, but still several interactions along the way, and it's just been a pretty consistent level for NAT. As far as how I'm doing this, I got shares at 525. That was a little bit of an impulse. I wasn't super happy with myself for doing that, but I'm expecting to exit around 630. That's kind of my price target. I think that might be a little conservative because I do think at some point there's going to be another peak. There's some talk that the NAT CEO might be doing another interview on another platform, and that's what's caused the huge run up earlier back in April. So obviously we can watch out for that, but I'm thinking between 630 and 670 is kind of where I'm going to be trying to exit this. You can see back on this chart, that would require breaking up off of this level, and that puts us in line with this long-term resistance level, which is kind of in the 660s if it happens on Monday. But if we look deeper into May and almost into June, that's almost at the $7 level. That's why I think it should be fairly easy to exit in that area, assuming we're breaking up. As far as my other position, I did sell a put on NAT because at the time they were trading at $6.20, and I thought, hey, in the event they fall and I do get assigned, I'd love to get in at the $5.20 cost basis. And obviously I continued that line of thinking when I entered at $5.25. So I collected my 80 cents, and now it looks like I'm definitely getting assigned unless tomorrow is just absolutely nuts. So as far as what my options are here, I could have rolled it, and I still have the option to roll it. If we think about what intrinsic value is right here, it's about $1.05. Obviously that would rely on this holding up. And if we look at the $6 put for June 19th, I could be collecting about 50 cents of premium here. Obviously at the $1.05, I'd be collecting 60 cents of premium, but this price hasn't been adjusted and the price has gone up after hours. So I think I've been watching this. 50 cents is about right, and that would roll out this contract into June. I'm not really thrilled with that prospect though, because I think just getting assigned and then moving to covered calls is the better idea. Obviously right now I can only collect about 40 cents of premium if I sell right now. My intention right now is to hold through next week, kind of see where the price is going to move and try to sell then. But obviously 40 cents plus the dividend is still in line with the additional credit I could receive just by rolling out to June. And so I think that's the right idea for me. Because of course this is theta trades and I want to be dealing with the wheel as my strategy right now. That was talked about in my first NAT video. If you want, you can check it out. I'll throw up the card. But yeah, guys, that is all about NAT and what I'm thinking there at the moment. I'm going to throw out another quick video on Riot because they've kind of been going nuts. And honestly, if you're trying to sell options and get into the wheel and stuff like that, this is a great option to go with, because if you look here, the implied volatility is off the charts. I mean, if you're just trying to sell cash covered puts, look at this. The implied volatility for next Friday's options are 300%. I sold some earlier this week at 500% volatility at the $1.50 level. And by the next morning, I closed out for a 4% gain. That was going from selling at $10 to buying back at $4. It looks like at this point I could have held through and gotten the full 6.7% return, but honestly, I was happy with it. But we'll talk more in depth at another time. Let me know if there's any videos you guys want to watch out for. I'm also thinking about talking about American Airlines. Because of this post here, I started researching them. Tell me if that's something that would interest you guys, or just tell me what you would like to see in the future. If you found this video helpful, make sure to consider subscribing. More importantly though, I hope this helped you make some money. And until next time guys, this has been Theta Trades, and I'll see you next time.